Well, hi everyone. We got inverse trig functions that we're introducing. We've seen the graphs and the domain and ranges, and first thing I've got here is the inverse sine, y equals inverse sine of x, or arc sine of x. And review of the domain goes from -1 to 1, and range goes negative pi over 2 to pi over 2. And what we're going to do is we're going to work on finding the exact values, and we'll just jump into the examples. The arc sine of 1, and basically what we're asking is what angle has a sine, we'll just say what angle x has sine of x equal to 1. So we're just kind of reversing our way of thinking about it. Well, where's the sine equal to 1? Well, it looks like it's equal to 1 here. So the arc sine of 1 is pi over 2. Now, the inverse sine or arc sine of -2. All right, well, I'd be looking for -2 for my y coordinate on my unit circle, because that's the sine of the angle. And you know I'm not going to find it. And if you'll look, our domain is -1 to 1. This is outside of the domain. So it's not equal to a lot of things, but we'll just go empty set there. There's no value for that. Okay, -2 is outside of the domain there. Now the arc sine of negative square root of 2 over 2. And if I'm looking at negative square root of 2 over 2, I see it here, and I see it here for the y value. Now what I need you to consider, though, is the range. The range for sine is this side here. So we would be using, and then we would actually also be using the negative value. So I got to be careful here. So this is negative pi over 6. This is negative pi over 4. This is negative pi over 3. And this is negative pi over 2 when we're going this direction. So just keep that in mind too. I'm using a unit circle, but I wouldn't be putting, for this, I would not be putting 7 pi over 4. I'd be putting negative pi over 4. Okay, to keep it in that range. Now, we can do the same for inverse cosine and inverse tangent, and just reminders of the domain and range. Now, domain and range, or the range, I'm sorry, domain's not the same, but the range of tangent is the same as the range for sine. But the range for cosine, I'd be up here. I'd be looking up here for those. So the inverse cosine of -1, where is what angle has a cosine of -1? It looks to me like pi does. Now the arctangent of square root of 3 over 2. Okay, remember tangent is sine over cosine, and I think if you are looking at a sine of square root of 3 over 2 and a cosine of 1/2, that those coordinates go together. Sine and cosine, if you do this, if you simplify the square root of 3 over 2 over 1/2, and it's positive here, that we're looking at pi over 3 here. Now the arc cosine of negative radical 3 over 2. So I'm looking at the x coordinates here. Negative square root of 3 over 2 is this angle right here. So I'm going to put 5 pi over 6. Inverse tangent is 0, where the sine is 0. Sine equals 0. And I think it'd be, the sine is 0 here, and 1 here. And we're talking tangent. 0 over negative 1 is also 0. But I need you to look at the range then. Nope. This is for tangent. This is tangent. Negative pi over 2, 2. So we are talking about an angle of 0 radians. I see the 0 on this unit circle. All right, now we're going to approximate. I'm doing everything in radians in this. So we're going to use the, I'm going to look at my mode. I am in degrees right now. I think we were doing some angle of elevation last time I did this. But I'm going to use radians. And the arctan of 4.84. So I'm going to go second and tan. The inverse tan is the second function of the tan button here. And I'm going to put 4.84 in. And let's say to nearest thousandth. So I'll go 1.367 there. Now I'm going to do the same thing for sine. Second sine negative 1.1. And that is a domain error. Very nice. Calculator tells us it's a domain error. Negative 1.1 is not between negative 1 and 1. Okay, so we'll just write that. All right, and then I'm going to quit on that and go second cosine negative 0.349. I'm getting, this is radians, 1.927 radians. Okay, if you think about 1.57 is pi over 2 radians, if that gives a little bit of something to compare to. 3.14 divided by 2 is 1.57. So, all right, I'm going to stop with that one, and we'll pick up with composition of trig functions on the next video. God bless. Take care, guys.